In today's video, we are going to be looking at Bitcoin from the stars, seeing what it looks like from the new moon in Leo today through to the full moon in Aquarius on the 19th of August. Towards the end, we're going to talk a little bit on the personal side of things as well, how you can use this new moon to your advantage. Hi, I'm Corinne Florence, and welcome to Star Bites. This is where I use financial astrology to look at what is coming up for Bitcoin in today's case and different cryptocurrencies according to the stars. I love financial astrology. It's something that has proven to be quite accurate over these past years of me learning and expanding in it. If you have not yet watched the first Starbite video with myself and Mr. Jack, please check it out, as this will give you an astrological outlook for the rest of 2024. But in today's video, we are going to be focusing in on from today. Happy new moon, everybody. Happy new moon in Leo, coming from a Leo, to the full moon in Aquarius on August 19th. So if you're new here and you've never seen me talk about financial astrology, there will be some resources to come down below for you to catch up, so stay tuned. But in the meantime, what I like to do is work from new moon to full moon, from full moon to new moon, because typically we see when there is a full moon, Bitcoin tends to create a local bottom, and when there is a new moon, Bitcoin tends to create a local top. Now, we here today are starting off with a new moon in Leo, which normally would mark a top, as maybe we had seen in the past. That was back on the 6th of June with a new moon in Gemini. But we are going right now through what's called the pre-shadow of full Mercury retrograde. We're going in full Mercury retrograde also today with the new moon. And what Mercury retrograde likes to do, both pre-shadow during the full and post-shadow Mercury retrograde, is it likes to throw at us the unexpected. It's kind of like an interesting thing to say, but really when we go through Mercury retrograde, you just got to expect the unexpected and be prepared for anything. So that's what we're seeing right now. New moon, maybe continuing to create a local top, but we saw the local top since the full moon, since the previous full moon on the 29th of July. A heads up, if you have not watched mine and Jack's forecast for the rest of 2024, August is not the prettiest, but let's go and take a look at the Bitcoin transit chart. So we're looking at Bitcoin when it had its Genesis block, 3rd of January 2009 at 18:15 Universal Time. And we're looking at it for this new moon in Leo today on the 4th of August. Now, we see the new moon occurring in Bitcoin's first house, which in financial astrology represents the shareholders. The way that I like to look at this is that typically that's going to go and affect people that hold the actual asset of Bitcoin. So in this case, we can see that it might be affecting some new people in particular, or it might be affecting some people as they're probably thinking, what's happening with Bitcoin? We have seen some quite significant drops. So there might be already some emotion there. Also remember that during new moons and full moons, emotions are heightened. So this is also a really great thing if you're a trader or an investor, just for yourself to take note that during these new moons and full moons, our emotions might be a little bit more elevated than usual. Now, this started a little bit earlier, but what we've been seeing since around the 2nd of August is the planet Neptune, which is currently squaring the natal Pluto of Bitcoin. And during this same time, we also have Venus square the natal Venus of Bitcoin. What does this mean? Well, first of all, when we have Venus, the planet of not just love, but the planet of money, it represents especially like the price value in financial astrology. Well, when you have the money affecting in a not so great way, in a more challenging way, the money of Bitcoin, we can tell that that means that price is going to be headed to the downside. With Neptune square natal Pluto, that adds on top of it. Pluto is the planet of transformation, of death and rebirth. And Neptune is the planet of illusion, delusion. It can be the planet of inflation. And the way that I would interpret this is that Neptune is wanting to, in not a positive way for now, creating a transformation within Bitcoin's price, or rather a death and a rebirth within Bitcoin's price. Now, another interesting thing about the new moon is that we're seeing that it is directly opposite. So another challenging aspect to the natal north node of Bitcoin. The north node is about your direction in life. It's about what you came here to do, very closely related to your purpose, what you're meant to be learning in this lifetime. And you could be thinking like, wait, but here we're talking about like Bitcoin, we're talking about an asset. Think about it as if it was a person. Right now, what's being challenged, its direction in which it's meant to go. And I mean, even though we look at the news, we look at the recent Bitcoin conference in Nashville, and we see that all of US politics, they're kind of using Bitcoin to maybe even get votes for this next presidential election in November. Although we're seeing what seems to be very bullish news, what astrology is indicating is that there are some challenges ahead, and that it's actually challenging whatever Bitcoin was initially intended to do. And right now that's being challenged. So with this death and rebirth transformation that it's got to go through, and quite an intense one and an expansive one, there are yet some challenges ahead for Bitcoin. Now, from today, like I said, 4th of August, we also have Mercury going in full retrograde, and that is going to be until the 28th of August. So, like I said before, expect the unexpected. I always tell people, even if you don't want to fully use financial astrology, just put in your charts where the Mercury retrograde period is, especially if you're trading cryptocurrencies, because Mercury is the planet of communication, of intellect, and already in the pre-shadow retrograde, we saw this cybersecurity attack of CrowdStrike hitting so many different businesses around the world. I saw so many Australian banks that were hit. Microsoft was down. Little to no planes in America were being flown. So that's the kind of thing that happens during Mercury retrograde that we already saw it in pre-shadow retrograde. I'm very interested to see what may occur during the full Mercury retrograde. So even for us as investors, good to keep an eye out on that, in particularly when we're trading or investing in technology. So I would keep an eye out on that. Now, we have a really interesting day on the 9th of August. You may have seen before on my chart, I have it marked the 9th of August as a big red in my face, just to remember, because there's some interesting astrology happening on this day. Now, speaking of Mercury retrograde, we see that it is opposition the money of Bitcoin. We see Pluto also in retrograde that continues to be conjunct the natal Mercury of Bitcoin as well as the natal Jupiter of Bitcoin, or at least it's not at the exact degree, but it is just 1 degree away from the natal Jupiter. And what we're also seeing is Neptune now sextile the natal Jupiter of Bitcoin. What does this mean? Now, what I'm seeing here is an illusion of price expansion. I feel like there is going to be various news that may be creating a quick pump to the upside. This, and why I use the word illusion, is especially because of Neptune. Like I said earlier, Neptune creates illusions and delusions. And Jupiter is the planet of expansion, of wealth. Now, whether that is to the upside or to the downside. So what I'm seeing is that we could see around the 9th, maybe a really big push, or more significant than been seen recently. I don't expect a new all-time high until we have Saturn that moves away from being constantly conjunct the natal Uranus of Bitcoin. Saturn, I kind of see as that planet that talks about support and resistance, right? Whether you use that or not, just think about the term of it, that it goes and creates like a strong support bottom level or like a strong resistance or highs. And in this case, that with Uranus, it's like blocking and it's refusing to allow it to push higher. So until that moves, I don't see a new all-time high. However, around this day, I feel like there is very much this energy of a potential, even we could call it a bull trap. So just keep an eye on this. I will add, especially for my new listeners and the people that are seeing this for the first time, I by no means fully trade using just the financial astrology. I always back this up with technicals. However, astrology does a really amazing job. And think about it, like astrology is not 100%, your technical analysis is not 100%. When you put the two things together, it does a pretty nice job. So definitely back this up with your technicals. Now, the other interesting thing that I see that it kind of continues to lead me towards that from this new moon that we're having today. We are going to be continuing down overall towards the full moon in Aquarius on the 19th of August, give or take some potential, maybe like up movement here. Like I said, maybe on that 9th, a bit of a pump and then a continued down. Don't mind which price point I'm putting it as. Just look at like the direction. We're not talking about price points here. But I do see on the 16th of August, Neptune that is in retrograde and now has gone back to being fully at 29 degrees. Now, when any planet is at 29 degrees is a critical aspect. And anytime that a planet is at that critical degree, it can like really shake things up. So I would keep my eye on this date, especially as it is sextiling, and then it will be at the exact degree, 29 degrees, sextile, exact 29 degrees in Jupiter. And I'm also just noticing here as well, we have Mars and Jupiter, which are square Uranus, the natal Uranus of Bitcoin, which we can start to look directly at because it will start on the 16th. But let's go to look at like the overall view, specifically when we do have that full moon in Aquarius for Bitcoin specifically. So as you can see, we now still have the 3 days later after the 16th through the 19th, we still have Mars and Jupiter that are square the natal Uranus of Bitcoin. This here gives me a very like push and pull dynamic where the desire to innovate or to advance something is now faced with some obstacles. Plus, when we have Uranus in the mix, that planet rules not only technology, but it also rules earthquakes. So now think about that in the market or in the news and like what could be going on for Bitcoin plus Mars, which is like the planet of like war, aggression, ignition, right? And like bam, this is like the word that like comes to me. That could just be like a lot of like sudden changes and maybe some unexpected shifts occurring. We also have then the Venus, which is opposing that natal Uranus. So this could be disruption to the value, of course, temporary value of Bitcoin, and probably a big shift in like investors' sentiment and how they feel about it. And then that Jupiter there is just really that tension around its expansion. Now, in better news, okay, because I don't want this to be all doom and gloom, even though unfortunately I don't see a lot of short-term positivity for Bitcoin during August, but there are some opportunities, some light. And I love to look at the light. I choose to white pill rather than black pill. And the beautiful thing of all of this is even though we may be going through this correction period or preparation for a correction period, because Mercury retrograde might kind of hold us back there for the proper correction that we need to see, or that the stars are indicating, at least in my eyes. But the positive thing is that we have this beautiful Uranus and Neptune, which are trine and sextile Jupiter, respectively, right? So this here is all about opportunities for growth, for innovation, and especially for the longer term. This is about potential really positive narratives that are aligning for Bitcoin and for its future and also for its image. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, we actually have the full moon that's occurring, the moon in the 8th house and the sun in the 2nd house. So this is a new time and a new opportunity for 8th house, which is all about the transformation, the death and the rebirth. So probably an indication of a beautiful time for a correction, but probably shaking out people in the markets that maybe are not, I don't know why like came to my head, like they're not married to the game. Maybe people that have not fully understood what Bitcoin is, and allowing for a slight correction to allow for maybe people that really have a plan, that really want to scale in constantly to Bitcoin at better prices, of course, when we're comparing it to the US dollar. So even though short term and for August, maybe things aren't looking the prettiest and the happiest and the dandiest, we've just got to take a step back, zoom out, look at the overall picture, and know that this is a time for opportunity and for growth. Sometimes I really believe that the biggest illusion out of all of this is that we continue to compare Bitcoin's price to the US dollar that we see on a chart. So I think this is a really great time for the new, for when we're going to be on the 19th of August, that full moon in Aquarius. It's going to be that releasing, that letting go as we go through that correction or prepare for that correction. Whereas today, the new moon, which I'm not sure if I mentioned earlier, is in the 1st house, so is all about their shareholders. It's all about self, is about really making sure that those that are in Bitcoin are the ones that believe in it, they understand its purpose, where it's headed to, and that they are about to be given incredible opportunities to enter some more in Bitcoin at better prices. So I hope you enjoyed this Bitcoin financial astrology outlook from today, the new moon in Leo, through till the 19th of August, which is the full moon in Aquarius. And now I would love to give you guys a little bit of a personal take on this new moon in Leo and maybe how you can use it for yourself. Now, I might be a little biased because I am a Leo. Well, my sun sign is in Leo. There's obviously lots of different placements within each person's personal birth chart. But what I love about the sign Leo is that it's all about the inner child. It's about creativity and fun and play. It's also about leadership, and it's about being heart-centered, being a Leo, even though sometimes everybody thinks that on the outside we show this big confidence and we're like constantly on our path, and maybe it might seem that we don't love as hard. I can promise you and assure you that as a Leo, we love so deeply, sometimes so much. And I think that when you think of like a lion, or like think of the Lion King for my Disney lovers, you know, I always think of like the leader of a pack. Like they love and they protect and they will do anything for those people that they really love. The Leo new moon is very much about maybe tapping into your heart, reaching out to the people that you love, reminding them that you love them. It's about spending time with family, and then also about some self-loving, because A shadow side of Leo can actually be a lack of self-confidence. It can be a lack of self-love. It can be having very, very high expectations of oneself. Also need to be careful with pride and ego. Leo is represented by the sun. And, the funny Leo memes are, of course I'm a Leo because the whole world and everybody else revolves around me. Because if you think about it, the sun has all the planets rotating around the sun. So sometimes got to be careful of that, my dear Leos. And so when it comes to this new moon in Leo, it's a great time to step into your inner strength, into your self-love, and maybe also get in touch with that inner child and that play that maybe you have forgotten. I'm going to read to you just a few things from my Instagram channel called Moon and Money Blasts. And this will give you some ideas of specific things that you can do during the new moon in Leo. So you can set intentions, focus on your self-expression and in your creativity, write down goals that celebrate your unique talents and passions, and visualize them blossoming with confidence. And then you could also back those up with creating some affirmations around those, maybe some of those things that you know that you need to boost your self-confidence, to boost that self-love, and to boost that inner strength. I personally also love to meditate or pray on those qualities that I admire about myself and pray to enhance them. This new moon is related to your solar plexus chakra. So this is all about your personal empowerment, leadership, boundaries, and assertiveness. If anybody's into crystals, you can use citrine or tiger's eye. That will really help with the enhancement of this energy. And lastly, some small journal prompts that you can use that I personally love to use during every full moon, new moon, specific to what that moon is. So the ones that are specific to this new moon in Leo, in which, by the way, you can fully use even for your reflection on your trading and your investing. It's a really great time for that as well. So what makes you feel alive? This is about coming back to that inner child, your passions, those things that make you have fun, right? The things that light up the fire inside of you. Leo is fire. And then how can you express yourself more freely? Ask yourself some questions or journal around what things can you do to express that creativity or maybe those unique, beautiful things about yourself. Stop hiding them and let them out and let people know. Once again, this is all about the sun. This is about what makes you shine. And it's about finding ways to express that and just let yourself shine. Let yourself shine. And then lastly, what childhood dreams can I reconnect with? I love looking back at my childhood, at childhood photos, at talking with, maybe my parents about what I used to do as a child and think about what did I love to do then and what dreams did I have? New moons are all about setting things for the new. Like full moons are for releasing, letting go. New moons are time for new. So it's a really great time to set goals. What did you used to love as a child, or where in your life did you forget that thing, that goal, that dream that you had? Reconnect with that. And this new moon is a perfect time to reconnect with that. And maybe write up a game plan and prepare for the Virgo season, which will be right after Leo season, which is all about setting plans, getting organized, and getting done. We just got to get it done. So I hope that you enjoyed this Star Bite for Bitcoin. Stay tuned in the coming days for very similar analyses with Ethereum, Solana, Casper. If there's any other crypto that you'd love for me to do a financial astrology analysis on in a Star Bite segment, let me know down below. I wish you a new moon filled with joy, creativity, and the courage and strength for you to shine brightly. Flow wealthy.